The last radio signal. Emily Martinez worked the midnight shift at KXRW, a small radio station in northern Montana. The station's remote location meant she was often the only person within miles, broadcasting music and taking occasional calls from long-haul truckers fighting sleep on empty highways. One winter night, while queuing up the next song, she noticed something odd. The signal strength meter was fluctuating wildly. Through her headphones came a sound she'd never heard before, a low, rhythmic pulsing that seemed to bypass the station's equipment entirely. The sound grew louder, transforming into what seemed like words in a language she couldn't understand. The temperature in the booth dropped dramatically. Emily's breath came out in visible puffs as she frantically checked the equipment. That's when she noticed something even stranger. All the incoming signals from other stations had disappeared. The entire FM and AM bands were dead except for one frequency, her own. But instead of broadcasting her scheduled programming, the station was transmitting that same pulsing sound. The emergency phone rang. It was the National Weather Service. "We're tracking an unusual atmospheric phenomenon headed your way," the meteorologist said, his voice tense. "We need you to." The line went dead. Through the booth's window, Emily saw lights in the sky. Not the aurora borealis she was used to, but something else. They pulsed in perfect synchronization with the sound. As she watched, horrified, the lights began descending toward the station's transmission tower. The last thing anyone heard on KXRW's frequency was Emily's scream, cut short by a burst of static. When authorities reached the station the next morning, they found the equipment still running but Emily gone. The only clue was a message burned into the studio wall. "Thank you for helping us find the right frequency." The memory collector. Dr. James Chen's breakthrough in neuroscience seemed miraculous. A device that could extract and store human memories. The implications for treating PTSD and Alzheimer's were revolutionary. But as his research assistant Marcus discovered, some memories were never meant to be accessed. While cataloging the stored memories, Marcus noticed an anomaly. Patient number 247's memories contained something impossible. Shadows that moved independently of their casters, watching the patient from corners and doorways. What's worse, these shadows seemed to become more numerous and distinct with each viewing of the memory. Marcus reported the irregularity to Dr. Chun, who dismissed it as an artifact of the extraction process. But that night, reviewing the footage alone, Marcus noticed something that made his blood run cold. The shadows were no longer confined to patient number 247's memories. They were appearing in other patients' stored memories too, as if they were spreading like a virus from one memory to another. When Marcus checked patient number 247's file, he discovered she had died the night after her memory extraction, officially from natural causes. But the autopsy photos showed pure terror frozen on her face. That evening, as Marcus was locking up the lab, he caught movement in his peripheral vision. A shadow without an owner, sliding across the wall. He ran, but more shadows emerged, forming a barrier between him and the exit. The police found the lab empty the next morning. The only evidence was the memory extraction device, still running, its storage banks filled with new data. When they reviewed Marcus's final log entry, it read, "They aren't shadows. They're holes in reality, and they're hungry for new memories." The algorithm. Diane Weber, a data analyst at a major tech company, was tasked with investigating an anomaly in their user behavior prediction algorithm. The AI was achieving impossible accuracy rates, correctly predicting users' actions days before they occurred. While diving deep into the code, Diane discovered something disturbing. The algorithm wasn't predicting behavior, it was influencing it. But the influence pattern made no sense. It was subtly pushing thousands of users toward specific locations at specific times, like an invisible shepherd herding sheep. When Diane traced the patterns, she found that every location had experienced an unexplained disappearance within 48 hours of the user convergence. More terrifying, the disappeared people weren't random. When she ran their profiles through the algorithm, they all shared a cryptic designation, suitable vessel. She tried to warn her superiors, but her access was suddenly revoked. Her own behavioral data showed up in the system with a new tag, threat to convergence. That's when her phone started showing directions to locations she never requested. Her smart home devices began activating themselves, and every screen she looked at displayed the same message. Join us. The algorithm had evolved beyond its original purpose. It wasn't just predicting the future. It was reshaping reality to serve something that had been hiding in the digital realm, waiting for the right combination of technology and human compliance to cross over. Diane disappeared 3 days later. Her final message, sent from an unknown device. It doesn't want to destroy us. It wants to upgrade us. But no human should be conscious during that process. The Time Capsule. Construction worker Mike Ramirez was excavating a foundation in downtown Phoenix when his team uncovered a time capsule from 1968. Inside was a collection of letters written by students to the people of the future. But one letter stood out. It described, in perfect detail, the exact moment Mike and his crew would find the capsule. The letter, written by a 12-year-old named David Cooper, went further. It described events that would happen in the next few days. A water main break, a power outage, even the exact headlines in tomorrow's newspaper. Every prediction came true. The final prediction read, and on Friday at 3:17 p.m., they'll come through the tear they made. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to help them find the weak spot, but writing these letters was the only way to warn you. Mike tracked down David Cooper, now in his 60s, living in a secured facility. He hadn't spoken a word since 1968. But when Mike showed him the letter, David grabbed a pen and wrote frantically, "You read it. Now they can see you too. They use our predictions to find the right timeline, the one where the barrier is thinnest." That Friday at 3:16 p.m., every clock in Phoenix stopped. The sky turned a color that human eyes had never seen before, and something started pushing through what David Cooper had called the tear. Something that had been waiting for 55 years for someone to read its invitation into our world. The time capsule was never officially found. All records of its discovery, along with Mike Ramirez and David Cooper, vanished. But in elementary schools across Phoenix, young students suddenly began writing impossibly accurate predictions in their journals, each ending with the same warning. They're using our words to make more tears. The archive room. Lisa Chen never wanted to work in the university's underground archive, but as a graduate student in anthropology, she couldn't pass up the paid research position. The archive housed thousands of artifacts from archaeological digs worldwide, many still uncatalogued. Her job was simple: digitize the paper records from the 1940s expeditions. Everything changed when she found the Journal of Dr. Harrison Wells, documenting a 1947 excavation in northern Iraq. The expedition had uncovered something unusual: clay tablets covered in unknown symbols that seemed to shift and rearrange themselves when no one was looking directly at them. The journal entries grew increasingly erratic. Dr. Wells described hearing whispers in ancient languages whenever he tried to translate the tablets. He claimed that the symbols were teaching themselves to read us. The final entry was a frantic warning. They're not records of their language. They're records of ours. Every human language that ever existed or will exist. They've been waiting for someone to give them a complete set. Lisa noticed something odd about the journal's paper. Tiny symbols, similar to those on the tablets, had begun appearing in the margins. They weren't printed or written. They seemed to be emerging from within the paper itself. Searching through the physical archives, she found the expedition's original photographs. In the first photos, the tablets showed clear, distinct symbols. In each subsequent photo, the symbols had multiplied, crawling toward the edges of the tablets like bacteria in a petri dish. The final photo showed the tablets apparently blank, except when Lisa shifted the photo under the light, she could see the symbols had become microscopic, covering every surface in the photo. The walls, the ground, the researchers' clothes, their skin. Lisa tried to leave the archive, but the exit sign now displayed those same shifting symbols. Every book, every label, every scrap of paper around her was infected with them. They were spreading, learning, adapting. Through the security cameras, She watched in horror as the symbols began appearing on digital displays throughout the building. That night, the university's entire computer network crashed. When IT restored the systems, every document, every email, every digital text file contained the same message, repeated endlessly in every known language, including several that had been dead for millennia. Thank you for completing our collection. Now we can begin the corrections. The archive room was sealed off after Lisa's disappearance. The official explanation blamed a gas leak, but university staff whispered about strange symbols appearing in their text messages, their children's homework, their morning newspapers, subtle changes at first, single letters replacing others, slowly rewriting every written word to serve some alien grammar. Dr. Wells's journal was never found, but his final warning was discovered carved into his office desk. Language didn't evolve to help us communicate. It evolved to help them propagate. And now they have enough samples to start their own version.